Hi, I'm Luis Valenzuela, founder and director for the Miami Shoe Museum, and it's a pleasure to have today a person that I admire, an artist that I admire a lot. And why she's here? Well, we are in the space that we have the exhibition that is called Artistic Footsteps. And when I was curating the show, I found out that in my collection, which is the collection for the Miami Shoe Museum, we had a shoe that it was a fascination of Andy Warhol, when he works illustrating shoes for A. Miller and many more, Charles Jourdan and many more houses in that time. So I found out that I was an artist in Miami, that she actually photographed him and she hung out with him. So I asked her to bring the original artwork to the gallery, to the shoe vault. And she was thrilled because she knew about the history of the Andy Warhol illustrating shoes for the fashion industry. So here we have Karen. Thank you, Karen, for being here.
Pleasure to be here.
I was at Karen because it sounds like they're familiar. We're friends. We became friends planning the show. I admire her career a lot, and she actually knows a lot about art and know about a lot about pop art. And she was involved in that time with the masters. So Karen, welcome.
Thank you.
And tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I'm a world baby. I grew up going to museums my whole life, all over the world. And so even though I photographed Andy Warhol at quite a young age, I had already gone to the Louvre and, museums in Rome. And I had gone to an exhibition in Northern California with the soup cans. So by the time I photographed Andy, I was very versed in art. I was a very sophisticated young person. And art has always been a beautiful part of my life.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about the time where you were involved with Andy and that scene in New York. I know it's a lot of history behind, because the time that he was kind of depressed because of the breaking, with his boyfriend and all that time that he wants to be a model. So tell us a little bit about how you got into that moment where you had the camera in front of that master.
Yes, I believe it was destiny, but I was a student at NYU and I was also a club kid. So I had style and the doorman liked me, so I used to go to all those clubs. I was at the end of Studio 54, but area, Nels, and Andy Warhol at that time was very social. He was out almost every night. Mm-hmm. So I used to see him hovering in the corner, and I believe I had met him once through these two twins that I know, Richard and Robert DuPont. But I didn't know him well, and I didn't think of photographing him until I decided to do a book on male models. And I saw an ad, a Barney's ad, with Andy languishing, modeling at GQ. And wow. I was like, wow, I need to get Andy Warhol for my book. And at that point, I had somehow managed to get the top male models of the time, the Calvin Klein guys, the Ralph Lauren guys, to shoot with me. And I also had gotten a literary agent who got me a book deal with NAL. Mm-hmm. So I called Andy at the factory and he answered the phone.
What a moment.
It was a moment. A little bit intimidating. But
I think, maybe, yeah, because he was kind of shy person, right?
He was shy, but he was at the factory at Interview Magazine. I was a very, very committed, focused young person, and doing that book was everything. Just like your passion for this museum right now, mm-hmm. Every shoe, every detail. That's how I was at the time with creating this book on male models. So even though for a moment I was like, oh my God, he answered the phone, I also knew what I wanted, and I wanted him in my book. So he said, well, who else do you have? Mm-hmm. He talked in a very particular way. And I said, well, I've got the Calvin Klein guy, the Ralph Lauren guy, and he knew all these guys. And it was just the right moment because Andy had decided he wanted to be a model, and he was a model with Zoli. And he wanted to be in the company with all of these other models, top models, who were the covers of GQ. And that's why he said yes to me.
Wow. Thanks to that moment, we had a great picture that you see behind us. And it was also the moment where Andy did a lot of illustrations for, shoes before that time. But so that's a shoe that you will see on the screen too, that it was a shoe that designed by Perugia, that he gave the file and the whole design sketch to Chargerdon. And it's a shoe inspired by Picasso, or let's say maybe Surrealism or Cubism. I mean, depending on how you see it, it's a lot of elements in there. So we had the pleasure to have that in the collection. And you're also going to see some of the images that Andy Warhol illustrated for shoes in that time. So it's a perfect moment that I'm in Miami. It is, we're launching this museum with this great collection, and also we have Karen here in Miami. We are kind of in the same space most of the time, and we're planning a lot of things together. But she is so into fashion and art together, which for me is the same. Art and fashion art, it's for me the same. As a curator, I always had that conversation with different curators about people try to say two words, but for me it's the same. And in your case, I see that it's the same.
So, when we met and you told me that you were creating this incredible shoe museum, part of my history with Andy prior to actually meeting him was I went to one of his best friends. Her name was Susie Frankfurt, and he gave her a few of his original illustrated shoes. They were in her kitchen. I remember it very well.
Wow.
And that's why I particularly am knowledgeable about the shoes. And then when I lost my negatives and then found them in 2011, one of the first people to collect me were the Hearst group, because Andy illustrated shoes for Harper's Bazaar. So they purchased one of my photographs, and they actually did a private viewing of 5 of my photographs in the Hearst Tower in New York City.
Wow. See, I mean, I told everybody here, like watching that, she's an icon, and I'm super happy that we have that person, that iconic person in the fashion industry, for the fashion industry in Miami. And I know she's doing a lot of collaboration with different artists. So tell us a little bit about all the projects that you're doing.
It's fantastic. I started a collection called The Lost Warhols, collaborating with other artists. So there are so many people who love Andy, and I'm alive, and I have these iconic photographs of him where he really connected, at least with his eyes. So I just did a collaboration with Shepard Fairey, which was in a museum in Stockholm. And I myself have a show coming out with the David Rosen Gallery at Baxter on December 7th for Art Basel.
Wow.
And then a show in Mexico City as well that opens December 5th.
She's all over the place. And during Basel, we're going to have this exhibition open for people to see and admire the artwork from. They're all masterpieces, and we call artistic footsteps walking masterpieces. And here you can see, you name it. I mean, whatever you want, Jeremy Scott, you can see, what I can say, Fendi, Prada, you can see a lot of brand Converse, you can see Nike, you can see all combination of style, but it's all related to art. So pieces that are inspired by art somehow.
Shoes, gorgeous shoes. It's a stunning exhibition. It's a must-see. And this is my original photo of Andy. It's called Handsome Andy, and it's collected by Prince Albert in Monaco, and it's also in the permanent collection of the Warhol Museum. But this exhibition designed by you is really incredible.
Well, it got together with your art. So for me, it's all masterpieces working, and she's a masterpiece for me. I really appreciate that you had the time to do this interview and be part of the museum's second exhibition at the Research Center at the Shoe Vault. And I invite people to follow us in our social media and our webpage and come and schedule your visit here and go to our webpage. You will see the information on the screen, and just continue supporting this initiative that we want to do more shows and more incredible mini exhibitions, let's say that way, before we open the actual museum, the big one, but to showcase the collection that we have, which is it's more than 800 pieces, all the way from 1400 to now. So stay tuned, follow Karen. You can see, can you tell us your Instagram?
Follow me at Karen BYSTEDT and at The Lost Warhols.
So again, great moment right now with Karen BYSTEDT, right?
Yes,
that's it.
BYSTEDT.
Great,
Very
BYSTEDT. So thank you, Karen, for this moment, and
Absolutely.
I hope that we can really do more for Miami. And we both love Miami,
Yes.
and we both had a lot of people here that love Miami. I want Miami to be the center of the world.
A cultural center.
So
yes,
we're making it.
That's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nurse.
Thank you.
Thank you.